You're listening to Pitch Perfect, the podcast, not the movie. I'm one of your hosts, and my name is Nate, and I'm joined by my co-host, Josh, who you might know from his work as the lead sand grain arranger on the 1984 Dune movie. Are they bringing you back for the 2021 one?
Yes. There was a little bit of hiccup because I complained that arranging sand grains is a little too difficult, and I'd rather just peel potatoes, because I like peeling potatoes. It's tedious, sure, but it's fine. Mm-hmm. But that position wasn't available. It was actually taken up by Vin Diesel for some reason. I don't know. So, once again, my role was stolen by Vin Diesel. I'll get him one day. But in the meantime, I guess I'll settle for being the sand grain organizer again.
The thing about Vin Diesel and peeling potatoes is that he is a peeled potato that came to life. And so he's always looking to peel potatoes on the off chance that he might one day make for himself a son.
This is mean. I mean, I know he's my rival, but he's definitely not a peeled potato that came to life. That is the meanest thing you've ever said about somebody.
If anything, it's a compliment. I mean, and it's not like it doesn't make sense. Like, look at his performances and tell me those aren't starchy.
You know what? I can't argue with that. Alright, well, I think we covered about that. Let's get into it. Two vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. Near them, on the sand, half-sunk a shattered visage lies, whose smile and widen eyes and wheeze of cool command tell that its sculptor well these passions read, which yet survive. Stamped on these lifeless things, the hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed. And on the pedestal, these words appear. His name is Pauly Shore, King of Kings. Look upon his works, ye mighty, and despair. And so, we shall. Welcome to On Distant Shores, where my co-host and I talk about the career of actor-comedian Pauly Shore, and how it maybe could have gone a bit better.
Huh. What? It's weird, though. We started this episode, we did the whole intro, but there's no movie. We didn't watch a movie. What are we even going to talk about?
Well, no, we did watch a movie. We watched it together. I was present for all of it, unfortunately.
What movie did we watch? I don't remember this. I don't recall this.
I don't blame you for doing this. I think it's some sort of turtle shell protective measure that your brain is doing for you, and I appreciate that and wish I had that ability and opportunity, but I don't. So I'm going to force you to come down to my level and remember that we watched In the Army Now, the 1994 American war comedy directed by Daniel Petrie Jr. and starring Pauly Shore, Andy Dick, David Alan Grier, and
Lori Petty.
And who?
Lori Petty.
Oh yeah, now you remember. Hey, look at that, you're back.
Hey, why would you do this to me? I was free. I was living in a beautiful reality where this movie didn't exist. And now I'm forced to confront that it does in fact exist. Oof, boy, this was a rough one.
Oof. Yeah, this was a major oof. This was the biggest oof we've ever watched on this podcast.
It's going to have the Pitch Perfect Memorial Award for biggest oof. Goes to In the Army Now. Which I was surprised when you said that this was directed by a human person with a name. Or that anyone would put their name on this movie.
Yep. That's a thing. It happened. Tell you what, buddy. This is the part we usually give a synopsis. I'll give you a break this time. I actually was thinking about how this movie has damaged your heart, soul, and mind, because this is the second time that you've watched it, and the second time that you've made me watch it. But you know what? I'll do you a favor. I'm going to do the synopsis this time. I got you. Because, you see, the thing is, when I was organizing my closet the other day, I invented time travel.
Okay. Sure. I believe this.
Now, what you're thinking to yourself is, that's crazy, right? I can't invent time travel. And the thing is, I didn't. I found a time machine in my closet, and I was going to, sit down and write the synopsis. I already had one started for this one, but then I realized, way back when, that I already had the synopsis for this movie. I didn't have to write it. Back when we were doing another Pitch Perfect episode during our Ernest season, I had it. I don't know why I had it, but I did have it. So I had decided, I'm going to go back in time, going to get that, less work to do, bring it forward, and I have it with me now, and I'm just going to read it ahead, and it's all going to go extremely well. Are you ready?
I guess.
Okay, here we go. This movie starts off with characters Pauly Shore and Andy Dick working at a golf range in Georgia. They both work as golf ball collectors, and they kind of do fantasize being a war hero. Eventually, they're approached by John Archerry.
Nope, that's where I know it's
says to them...
Nope, you did it again.
Says to them that they can join the army and drive war trucks, but never have to go into actual combat, so they enlist in the reserves.
I mean, now it sounds like it's the right movie again.
One day, a UN peacekeeping commander tries to abduct them and take advantage of them, but they refute this with ooey gooey gummy worms.
No, that sounds wrong again. That sounds wrong. No.
I can't do this anymore. It's wrong. It's wrong. I'm doing the thing that you were doing. Well, first off, I'm doing it extremely more convoluted. But also, I'm doing it where I try to pretend this movie is a better movie. In the Army now is not Ernest in the Army.
Can you believe that this movie is making us say that? That we would want to take refuge in Ernest in the Army? That should be enough to tell people.
You know what, Nate? I've thought long and hard about this. I would take refuge in Ernest Goes to Africa.
Ernest Goes to Africa is a better movie. This is the worst movie we've watched for the podcast. Ernest Goes to Africa is a better movie. It's still bad.
It's wild to say that. It's so wild to say that.
Yeah. I did write an actual synopsis for this movie. It's the shortest and least detailed one I've ever written. It was a struggle to write because this movie is a fucking time warp. It's objectively, it is an hour and a half long. It feels way longer when you're watching it and way shorter when you're trying to remember it. It is...
This is so true.
Impossible to get a handle on this thing. I'm gonna read my synopsis to just try and ground people at least a little bit in what actually happens in this. I mean, to be fair though, just being this is basically Ernest in the Army but worse and with Pauly Shore is a pretty fair synopsis of this movie.
Yeah, it is.
But so what we get is we are introduced to two assholes who do a bad job selling electronics and are creeps. They are Pauly Shore as Bones Conway, strange name, and Andy Dick as Jack Kaufman. They are rightfully fired, and then they join the Army Reserves. Then they fart around in training, but not literally because that might actually be funny. They choose water purification as their specialty, and in the water purification unit, they meet the other major characters in the movie who are a bloodthirsty woman and a timid dentist with the world's worst therapist. They're all sent to Chad because Libya is going to attack Chad. And they fart around in the desert for a while and draw the ire of a special ops soldier guy named Stearns. And then eventually they're sent on a mission that goes awry when they're attacked. And they're forced to run away. And they fart around in the desert for a while, but not literally because that might actually be funny. Until they get captured. Stearns has also been captured. There's an airstrike on the facility, and then they escape. And then they have to direct an airstrike at some missiles that Libya is going to shoot off. And that means that the rest of the movie basically is a really long, sucky, boring action sequence that ends with them becoming heroes and then opening a store. And then there is the horrific, dread-inducing implication that this is some kind of cycle, and basically the plot of the movie is just going to happen again with two other characters. And again, and each iteration is going to be a more and more degraded copy of the original duo until the last version of In the Army that exists just before the moment of the heat death of the universe is two shapeless, vaguely humanoid creatures firing vaguely gun-shaped objects at vaguely Libyan-shaped people. And then the universe is mercifully destroyed under its own weight.
Now, hang on, Nate. You said a lot of crazy stuff, but Libyan-shaped people? You're better than that.
Okay, vaguely missile-shaped objects. I'm gonna edit that in.
Thank you. Now we're gonna keep this
movie sucks.
Yeah, this movie is awful. There's nothing good about it. It is basically army propaganda at its worst and most blatant.
It's not basically army propaganda. It literally is. It's much more blatantly propagandistic than even Ernest in the Army was. So much of this, like, this movie, not so much, but there's a very long part in the beginning of this movie where they just keep saying over and over again what the benefits of joining the Army Reserves are.
Yeah, I'd rather someone tell me that they want to be Army people rather than just saying, hey, this is great, do this.
Like, they keep saying the specific amount of money you get for signing up. That's how blatant it is.
For just 2 days a week. Join the reserves.
Yeah.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, well, let's rate this giant dumpster fire. I think our ratings are pretty obvious, but I'm just going to put mine out there. It is 1 out of 10, 0.5 out of 5. If I could rate it any lower, I would. This movie is garbage. It is barely a movie.
Yeah, I would give it the same score. There is nothing good about this movie. It's boring, it's unfunny, the characters are unlikable, the plot is uninteresting, it's morally gross. Parts of it are racist, parts of it are homophobic, it's sexist, it's just like, it's not like, they put money into it, like it looks like a movie, but it doesn't look good. It's not like there's like cool shots or anything, it's just very blandly directed on top of all the other awful things about it. Yeah, it's just straight up fucking garbage that no one ever needs to watch. And for some reason, we watched it twice.
Don't watch this movie, and especially don't watch it twice. Ye gods, don't watch it twice.
I will make a declaration right now. I will never watch this movie again. From now until the moment of my inevitable death, I will never watch this movie again. Nothing on earth could ever possibly make me watch this movie again. There's no reason to ever watch it. Like, there would be no reason to show it to other people. It's not even really, like, it's not enjoyably bad, mostly because of the sort of, well, firstly because bad comedies are rarely enjoyably bad, but also because of the gross propaganda stuff makes it hard to, like, get in the spirit of the movie and laugh with it and at it, because it's just bad.
Hold on. Let me get my script. Okay, here's my line. But Nate, what if someone paid you $1 million to watch this movie again? Would you do it then? Question mark.
I would. Okay, here's the thing. People are there's all of these scenarios on the internet, right? Where it's like, oh, would you do this for $1 million? And everyone's like, yeah, of course. Like, what? It's $1 million. No, I would. I genuinely, seriously, truthfully, would not watch this movie for $1 million. Because there's no way that you couldn't convince me that the person who was trying to get me to watch it didn't also want to murder me. Like,
okay,
I can't use $1 million if I'm dead. So, and I'm not.
Right.
What other reason would you have? Like, the person that wants to force someone to watch, almost said Ernest in the army, in the army now.
See, we're trying to take refuge.
It's so sadistic, so deranged, such a dark soul, that I couldn't possibly ever want to bring myself into that person's orbit, even for $1 million, because it's only going to end in tragedy for me.
Okay, my next question on this script that you hand wrote and mailed to me says, But Nate, what if you found your true love, your significant other, and everything about them was perfect, their body, their mind, everything, except their favorite movie was in the army now? Would you watch it then? Question mark?
No. Period. And I would expel that person from my life instantly. Because even if somehow, through some, like, impossible I had a quantum computer welded to my brain, and I could know definitively and objectively that, yes, literally everything else about this person is perfect, except for the fact that they like in the army now. That is such an impossibility that even my brain just couldn't process it. It would just be like, that's wrong. Somehow that's wrong. This must mean something worse about this person. No, they're gone forever. This is such a vile movie that I just cannot conceive that liking it would not also mean some other horrible secret. So no, even then I wouldn't watch it. There's no scenario. If somebody put a gun to my head, I would have to think about it.
Just shoot me. Just shoot me. I don't want to watch it again. Just shoot me.
But it's also like, you're so cruel. You, the person with the gun to my head, is so cruel as to make me watch In the Army Now. I don't believe that you're not gonna not shoot me at the end, so just shoot me now.
Save me an hour and a half of terror.
I don't want to have to watch it and then also get shot anyway, so I might as well just roll the dice and get shot now. People have survived being shot in the head. It's a non-zero chance I'll live. So yeah, no.
Now, listeners may be asking, why did we watch it twice if this is truly how we feel about this movie? And the answer to that question is...
Our survey said...
We're dumb. We're very dumb.
I don't even remember why we watched it the first time.
We watched it one night, hanging out with another friend, because we were like, this is wild. There's an army movie with Pauly Shore in it. We're bored. Why not? And we forgot how terrible this movie was, and then Nate was like, let's do a Pauly Shore season. And I was like, okay. And then we decided to do this movie again. And because our brains just pushed it way back and said, no, this doesn't exist, we forgot. And we watched it again. And now our brains are like, no, why would you do that? And they're pushing it back again. So yeah, we're dumb. Don't do what we did. Don't ever watch it at all.
No, never watch this movie. Do you want to get into high points?
Yes. Let's get into high points. I have nothing.
There's none. This movie has no high point. This isn't... Look, I don't want it to seem like we're just ragging on this movie for the sake of ragging on it. I went into the movie... I knew it was bad. I maybe didn't quite remember just how bad it was. But I was genuinely trying to find high points so that we could do this thing. Because I was like, there's something good in like every piece of art for the most part, unless it's made from a really awful, hateful position. And this movie is kind of made from a hateful position, to be honest. Because it's supporting, imperialist overseas U.S. military intervention. But like... There's really nothing. There's no part of this movie that's like, it's pretty good. Like, that's the reason why it's worse than Ernest Goes to Africa. Because Ernest Goes to Africa probably has... Like, Hey You is probably a more dramatically awful and, like, eye-catchingly terrible.
It's more grievous.
Yeah. More so than anything that's specifically that happens in this. But there are other parts of the movie that are at least mildly enjoyable. This has none of that.
Yeah, like the Aunt Nelda bit.
Yeah. No one is funny. Like, notably... Well, we'll get into this in high... I'm edging into low points. But, like, I really... Like, here's the closest I have come to high points in this movie. There's one part where they're talking about what specialty they're going to pick. And Andy Dick picks up, like, a brochure or something, and he says, Strategic Missile Ops. And then Pauly Shore goes, opportunities. And they don't even say the phrase, but the idea of the phrase missile opportunities made me laugh slightly.
That's insane they don't even say the phrase, because my brain is telling me they said the phrase.
No.
So my brain is even working overtime to make a stupid bit better just for the sake of this movie. That's insane.
Yeah, and then like there's one shot of like a vulture walking around on the ground, and vultures walk funny. Like they have a funny gait when they have to walk on a flat surface. That's literally it. Those are the two parts of the movie that I came closest to enjoying were thinking about the phrase missile opportunities and looking at an animal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have one minor addition to that, and that's really it. There's a point in this movie where Pauly Shore's Bones character makes friends with a camel that they buy and trade their truck for.
Mm-hmm.
And then this camel eventually runs after them for no reason, and then knocks over a guy that's about to attack them, and like gets their back. And that's cool, I guess. That's really it.
Yeah, they're saved by a camel. Yeah, just abysmal. Just fucking. Let's get into low points, and we'll just say right off the bat. Obviously, the entire movie is a low point. We can't use that.
Yeah, the entire movie, low point. We're done here. Let's go home to our collective wife and kids and cry in their arms.
This movie is the low point of this podcast. Is the low point of Pitch Perfect. Yeah, I can't even, like, how do we zero in on a particularly bad? I mean...
Okay, well, I can start, sure. I guess. So, I think what really made this movie awful to me in general. It's like, you know, there's a shit ton of army propaganda, talking about how it's not that bad. It's like camp, be all you can be. Like really, really blatant shit. But I think what does it for me the most, it's kind of like similar to like taking like Ernest and putting him in the army, is you take a funny character that I enjoy, comedian Pauly Shore, and then put him through this. And it's like, it's torture. You're torturing me by doing this. I don't want to see this. I don't want to see this fun character get turned into an insane army shrill. It's awful. And just thinking that the whole time watching this movie, plus the fact that there's no, funny bits to even it out, it just, it makes it worse. I guess to dig into that, that's like to envelop the idea of how this movie could be a low point itself, is because it does that.
Yeah. I wanna explain, just in case people aren't quite getting it, like how and why this and Ernest in the Army, these movies like this, are propaganda. Because the idea is that you make this comedy with a character or a figure that people like, and they watch the movie and they laugh at the jokes and they feel positive feelings that are then directly associated with the U.S. military. And it is pretty insidious once you really start thinking about it, because it goes beyond this. Because these good feelings don't necessarily... This is the problem with any war movie, even ones that are ostensibly anti-war. It's like, it doesn't even need to be that the military is portrayed in a particularly positive light. It doesn't need to be a comedy. Because even just a well-structured story creates a involuntary pleasure response in the human brain that can then be associated with the other things around it. And this is like a super-duper blatant attempt to do it, but this might actually be a high point, is that it is totally ineffective. There are no positive feelings to be felt through this movie. The characters are all awful, the story is not satisfying, the jokes are not funny. This almost works as anti-propaganda, because if you associate the U.S. Army with In the Army Now, you are not going to feel positively about the U.S. Army. But the other thing that this movie is trying to do is, by saying over and over again, like, the benefits and showing them, like, getting glorified and getting their lives together through the army, you watch the movie and you go, well, I'm smarter than Pauly Shore's character. Surely I'll have an easier time. I should just join the army. Like, that's what it wants you to do. And feeling it trying to manipulate you like that is really gross. It's a gross feeling.
100%. This movie's a real Delta farce.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to watch Delta Farce when we do our Larry the Cable Guy season, Larry Monsters and Super Creeps, and I don't know how we're gonna get through that.
We're not doing that. That's how we're getting through that. I'm not being talked into watching another fucking army film on this podcast. I will not allow it.
Okay, this is just bad, right? Is there any of these that are good? Is Stripes like this? I kind of want to rewatch Stripes to see how it compares to these movies. But it seems like this...
I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't actually seen Stripes.
I saw it, but years and years ago, like when I was like a kid. And I have very little memory of what the movie is actually like. What I did do, though, is because when we were watching this movie together, I said that I felt like the only good version of this kind of story is the episode of The Simpsons where he joins the army.
Mm-hmm.
And I rewatched that this morning, and I can confirm that episode is good and is very funny. And the main reason that it works is because it's the opposite of this. It is hugely, fervently, uncompromisingly anti-military and portrays the U.S. military as being a wasteful, greedy, brutal, stupid, corrupt organization.
Yeah.
I was surprised. It's an 18th season episode of The Simpsons, and I was really surprised by how hard they went. But it made me feel good after watching this bad movie.
What year did that come out?
Let me check. It's called G.I. Annoyed Grunt, because that's how they subtitled Doe, which I think is a pretty good title. That is from 2006.
Okay.
So I think the big difference, not a big difference, but a notable difference is this movie and Ernest in the Army are pre the Second Iraq War, whereas that is after the Second Iraq War.
Right. Yeah, this is 1994. This came out. Okay. We've kind of established that. Do you have any other, like,
Yes.
single low points? Because I have a few.
Yeah, I got one in particular, a big one that really bothered me. Because we've had we've dealt with some problematic shit on this podcast, right? Tons of sexism, obviously. Well, if we've learned
Yeah, we continue to, while trying to watch funny movies, deal with problematic shit. It really gives you a negative outlook on life.
Yeah, I think we have to at some point take a break on this podcast from doing like old pre 2000s comedies because it's bad. If we've learned anything on this podcast, it's that 90s comedies don't have great attitudes towards women and other groups of people, but seemingly especially women. But like we've seen sexism, we've seen racism, we've seen those are the big ones that we've encountered. I think this movie has the first time we've had to deal with like blatant homophobia, and it is blatant in this.
Yeah, it's not just like, they use the homophobic F slur. It's more than that.
Yeah, in particular, there's this sequence where they realize that they're going to be sent to war, and their plan to get out of it, which is like their only plan to get out of it, and barely happens in the movie, is they go to their commanding officer, Andy Dick and Pauly Shore, and they say that they're gay. And then the guy says, all right, well, kiss each other. And then they decide to go to war instead of kissing each other.
They try to kiss each other, though.
Oh, and they just can't do it. They can't physically bring themselves to do it. It's portrayed as being so gross that they have to instead go to war.
Yeah. So, let's just deal with this. Because I hate this trope more than anything. Because first off, yes, it's homophobic. Second off, it's just stupid. It's not that difficult to kiss somebody you're not into. I personally, if my life was framed in such a way that I had to kiss a friend that I had a platonic relationship with, whether I was into their sex or not, they're getting a smooch. I don't understand what's so difficult about it in general.
Yeah.
Just like, yeah, kiss, done. It's not like you're having sex with them. What's the deal?
It's such a bad moment because it is homophobic. And that makes you dislike the characters in the movie. And then you dislike them for being homophobes, but you also dislike them for being stupid. Like, it's a bad joke that makes you feel bad about the movie and also makes the characters more unlikable in two different ways at once.
Yeah, and it could have been cut out completely and wouldn't have affected this movie's barely available plot. So, yeah, great. Speaking of which, let's talk about the plot of this movie. Because it doesn't really have one. Because just like Ernest in the Army, they just, things just happen. There's no plot at all to this movie. There's nothing to hook you in. It's just like they go to the army, shit happens, they come home. The end.
Has almost the exact same structure as Ernest in the Army, including the get captured, escape, and then go back. Last act is exactly the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's what leads up to it being boring. That's why it feels so much longer when you're watching it, and then that is also the reason why it feels shorter when you're trying to remember it, because you're like, nothing happened. You're trying to piece the things you remember happening together, and it's like, these are not adding up to an entire movie's length of events. But that's because there's just a bunch of nothing in between.
And you know what's wild about that? Is that Ernest in the Army came out 4 years later in 1998.
It does not, that feels...
It's wild.
That, yeah. That's also, I feel like that's a pretty good illustration of, how the budget of a movie changes the way the movie feels, because this doesn't feel like it came out before Ernest in the Army. If anything, it feels like those two times should be flipped.
It feels like this movie watched Ernest in the Army and, just repeated it. But I think that's just our brains trying to merge those two movies together in order to save themselves from dying off.
Yeah. I've got another sort of more general low point that I kind of is reflective of the bad plotting and pacing, which is this movie's just bad at timing in general. There are a lot of moments where the comedic timing is just off in this, where it's just things happen at the wrong time. The most dramatic and obvious one is, Pauly Shore, right? He's got long hair. His hair looks bad in this. This is the worst his hair's ever looked. He kind of has a perm. His hair is very, very much curlier and stiffer than it normally is. But But obviously he joins the army, you know he's going to get his head shaved. So they do the comedy, quote-unquote comedy sequence, where he gets his head shaved, and he's supposed to look in the mirror and scream, and it just takes too long for him to scream, and it takes too long for them to cut away. And it's like, easiest fucking movie joke in the world. It's literally just a reaction shot, and they bungle it. And that keeps happening throughout the movie, where everything is just off by a couple of seconds. And it's like, these things wouldn't have been funny, per se, if they had nailed the timing, but at least they wouldn't have felt weird and awkward like they do when you're watching it.
For sure. The only other low points that I was going to point out, just because you could go on forever, was the general racism. Great example is when they make a joke while they're selling their truck to some traveling merchants, I guess.
Yeah.
Where they're like, hey, it's got a Kuwait track.
Yeah, he does that too. Pauly Shore multiple times does like foreign-sounding gibberish as a joke. It's really not cool, and it keeps happening in the movie. The Kuwait track is the most egregious. Like, it's just it's a bad joke, and it's racist. They're not in Kuwait; they're in Libya.
Yep. Yeah, I had to point that out. And I had one more, but do you have another one?
Sure. My low point is just Andy Dick. Andy Dick is terrible in this. I know.
Yeah,
people...
can we table that for a second?
Sure.
I have a plan for Andy Dick that we'll deal with it later in this episode.
Okay, well then tell me your last low point.
My last low point is just them celebrating death at the end of the movie. Yeah, we bombed the camp. Woohoo! Everyone's dead. We did it. So yeah, really taking the human life element out of this situation.
I think this is a thing that is especially aged poorly now that we live in an age of drone strikes, and it's the whole plot of this movie is especially gross and tasteless considering what the U.S. foreign policy will eventually do to the country of Libya. And the way they just kind of gleefully blow people up there in this movie is upsetting to watch.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, I want to talk about that. Actually, now that we're on it being gross, I think it's kind of insidious the way that last action sequence is set up.
Right?
Because of in regards to the propaganda thing. Because they specifically set up a scenario where they get to be war heroes and cause a bunch of destruction while putting themselves in minimal direct danger. Like, it really is going out of its way to try and make it look like, you could do this. You could be a war hero. All you gotta do is point a laser at the thing. It only goes wrong because they're dum-dums. You could do it. It's easy to kill a bunch of people. And that's gross.
You're not a dum-dum, and afterwards, once you kill them all, you'll be rich and famous, and you can own a store right next to the army recruiter place.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. It's all bad. Okay. I have some other points that I'll make later that aren't, like, necessarily low points, so I do want to talk about them real quick. But for right now, do you want to pick a low point or pick a high point?
I don't think we can pick a high point. There's no high point. I just don't think we can pick one.
No.
Even if we could pick one, it's just going to automatically lose. So there's really no point in doing it.
No, our high points are pathetic and weak, and like it's not even like worth like the Ernest hides behind a plank thing where it's like, okay, there's like even like you take those two things out of the movie, they don't work. They're not good. They're bad. So forget about it. Do you want to pick a low point, or just we want to say this whole movie?
Okay, that's the thing. We've talked before. I think specifically in Ernest Goes to Africa, we were like, we can't pick the whole movie as a low point. I think we can pick this whole movie as a low point because it doesn't have any high points. I think that makes it fair game to just be like, this whole thing is because we tried and we said things, but those don't count. They're nothing. One of them is literally a thing that they don't say in the movie. Like, I think because we tried to find high points and couldn't, that the whole movie is just a flat... the whole movie is just a steady incline downhill into the fucking Marianas Trench. That I think we are perfectly within our rights in the regards to the rules for the podcast that we made up. To put this whole ass movie as a low point, and to put it as the entire low point for Pauly Shore so far. Disagree with me if you will, but that's my take.
That's fine. But just to refresh, our season high point currently is Wheezing the Juice, which will always be great. Our season low point is plot-relevant drugging, slut-shaming, and gaslighting, which is in Son-in-Law. And,
but at least the bad guys do that in Son-in-Law.
Yeah, this is the real Ernest in Africa argument, where it's like the good guys are being awful.
Yeah.
Now, before we determine that this entire movie is our season low point, I want to just go through essentials real quick, because I want to make the argument as we go through our essentials that this, despite having Pauly Shore in it, is not a Pauly Shore movie.
No, I was thinking that while we were watching it. I was like, this could be anyone. You could do a movie that has generally the same structure, and plot as Son-in-Law, but with a just with another person that has a strong comedic persona. But it would still be a different movie. Like, the jokes would be different, the tone would be slightly different, because it would be a different. If it's Adam Sandler, it's a different movie, but you could still kind of make that movie. This you could just do anybody. This does not need to be Pauly Shore. This is nothing.
Yeah, this really is nothing. But let's go down the essentials list and really drive in that point. So, first and foremost on our essentials list for Pauly Shore, sense of style, kind of like hippie surf punk. Does it have it?
No, not really. He kind of he wears flared jeans and a dashiki shirt at one point, but that's it. It's very restrained and huge step down from Son-in-Law.
Huge. Is Pauly Shore's character Bones Jack Sparrow-esque? Is he stoned but sage and smart?
No, not at all.
No, he's just an idiot and a creepo.
That's not even part of the humor of this at all. He's just awful.
Okay, is he a mooch or a freeloader?
No, not really. I guess he's bad at his job.
The thing is, you can make the argument that he is because they're joining the army just to get money.
Yeah.
But it doesn't necessarily mean he's a freeloader because he is working to get money, even if he doesn't think it's as much work as it actually is. Now, this was an essential that we kind of put on the back burner last time. I don't know if this movie is going to help us at all figure out if this is something that we should keep or not. Maybe we just keep it on the list for now and reassess later.
I think that's the case, because this movie really did not push me one way or the other on that.
Okay. Next one is Little Regard for Authority, which clearly not in this movie.
The thing is, it is true in the beginning of the movie, and then the point of the movie is that he gains regard for authority, which is awful and bad, and antithetical to the appeal of this persona. Also, I want to say, it's not really a high point, but one thing... There's a thing that I liked that is portrayed by the movie as being negative, but there's a part where they go mini-golfing, and he does some primo disrespecting of the troops, and I like that, except that the movie frames it like it's bad.
Yeah, that reminds me, this movie also has golf in it. Huh.
Yeah, it does have golf.
What is it with army movies and golf?
I don't know.
Is that a thing?
Apparently. But I don't know why.
Okay, weird. Next thing is Pauly Shore self-aware? No. No, there's a specific point in this movie where he calls his previous manager at the video store a pervert just for wearing brut or brute, like the aftershave. But then, while having a girlfriend, he's a total disgusting creepo to his drill sergeant and any other female character that he meets. It's awful.
The thing that leads them losing their job starts because Andy Dick's character just rolls up and with no regard for her agency just starts filming Pauly Shore's girlfriend's boobs.
Yeah.
He keeps calling that guy a pervert for no reason.
For no reason, even though he's a pervert.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Don't make me feel sympathetic for someone's boss. I hate that.
We gotta make sure that Little Regard for Authority is also on Nate's Essentials.
That is absolutely an essential.
Okay, next one is Chill Dude. Is he a chill dude? The answer is no.
No.
You're not a chill dude if you're in the army. Also, he's a dick.
Yeah. Well, yeah, let's be clear right now. We'll put down the rules. This isn't necessarily for a movie thing, but this is Nate and Josh's rules for the world. You're not chill if you murder. if you kill a bunch of people, you're not allowed to be chill. You are no longer chill.
No, chill is immediately off the table. You can't do both. Chill isn't innocent. Someone who is innocent can chill. Let he who is without sin be the first to chill.
Let he who is without chill cast the first stone.
Ooh. Okay. Does he have low status in this movie? Yes,
Yeah, I guess,
but also
but
no.
Who cares?
He starts off with low status, but then he becomes the commander of his unit. So no.
Oh, he is. He's the leader. So no, he doesn't. For most of the movie, he isn't. He is actually the highest status character in most of the scenes of this movie.
And it doesn't work.
I didn't even think about that. That's a good point.
Does not work at all.
I just looked at the next one.
Yeah, the next one is Kind Soul. And once again, going back to Nate and Josh's rules for the world, you can't be a kind soul if you've murdered. So,
Yeah.
no.
You cannot blow someone up with a rocket launcher and still be a kind soul. Also, like, he's just a dick. It is wild watching this and thinking about how far, while still ostensibly being, like, Pauly Shore, playing the Pauly Shore type, how far afield this character is from Crawl and Stoney, but especially Crawl.
And, I don't know why you need this podcast, this dumb podcast about dumb movies, to tell you that you can't be a kind soul or a chill dude if you murdered. But there you go. We did it.
If you were worried, if you were going to murder someone, you thought, will people think that I'm chill and kind after I do this? Know that they won't, and hopefully that will deter you from doing the murder you're about to do.
Okay, next one is Pauly Shore Upbeat. No.
No. He's a very negative character in this movie.
Yes, he is extremely negative. I mean, not as negative as Andy Dick, but he's pretty negative. Does he have infectious charm and personality? No. The Weasel's not in this movie. There is no Weasel zone. No one is infected by Pauly Shore, except maybe Andy Dick.
Yeah. He is not charming to us, the viewer, but he also doesn't have that effect on the other people.
No.
In the movie. Like, that's not part of the plot of the movie either.
You could argue that because he eventually gets with Christine, the bloodthirsty person in his unit that's her whole character. She's bloodthirsty.
He
That
just really wants to fight in a war.
he has charm, but no, the movie goes out of its way to establish that the only reason she's horny for Pauly Shore is because she's been in near-death situations.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah.
Okay. Is he an outsider? No. Well, he is kind of. Because, like, the whole point of the thing with Stearns is that he's on infantry, he's water purification, so I guess he's kind of an outsider, but then the movie definitely, like, washes that away at the end, where it's like, everything's good now.
Yeah.
Okay, I have a note here that says we need to talk about the FUD dynamic. Nate, do you know what that means?
Yes. So we were watching the movie. They introduced Stern, and they have this contentious relationship. And you asked me, does Pauly Shore need a hater? And I said, my answer is yes, sort of. It's a different dynamic. And what it is specific, what Pauly Shore, I think, needs, what we see in Son-in-Law, is he needs less of a hater and more of a FUD. So the difference here is, like, a hater, as we've understood in the context of Ernest, is someone who is higher status than Ernest, higher status than our hero, who dislikes them and causes problems for them. The thing with the FUD is, the FUD has the same feelings towards our protagonist as the hater, except our protagonist has one up on them and is confounding them at every turn. Almost in structure, our hero is, like, almost more of the antagonist than the FUD. Not that they're being malicious, but it's just that the FUD is reacting to their actions. The dad in Son-in-Law is an example of this. And I think that works better for Pauly Shore than someone who is just has one up on him and hates him.
I agree with that. I don't know if that should be an essential, per se, that we have someone who is Pauly Shore's Elmer Fudd, but I think it's something to definitely keep an eye out for.
Yeah, let's keep a note of the FUD. Do you have anything that you want to add to the essentials?
Well,
I feel like maybe we should...
So, I think we need to delve into the fact that we haven't hit any of these essentials, right? So that is on this movie. This goes to my argument. This is not a Pauly Shore movie. I think we have correctly identified, and this movie proves that we have correctly identified the thing that you need for a Pauly Shore movie, even though we're only 3 movies in. And I think this is like the exception that proves the rule. That without all this stuff, it's not a Pauly Shore movie. It's just shit. And here we are with just shit because it doesn't hit any of these. You know?
Yeah. I absolutely agree. Like, this has none of the... Basically doesn't have any of the essentials, and in being so awful illustrates why they are essential. I don't know... I feel like it will be redundant, but do we want to add no murder to the essentials list? Or does having... us having established what Chill Dude and...
No.
Yeah.
No, having Chill Dude and Kind Soul establishes that, you know, you don't have to say it.
I just... Yeah, I think that... there really is nothing to add from this one to the essentials list.
But I want to circle back now. So, I think, while we want to make this movie our low point of the season, I think we can't. Because this isn't a Pauly Shore movie. I think we have to establish, kind of like Dr. Otto, well, that's not an Ernest movie, that this is just a blip. This is something that is so far off the radar that we shouldn't let it affect future discussions with the fact that we should just say, oh, the movie needs to have Pauly Shore in it. And by needing Pauly Shore, we mean not the person Pauly Shore, but the character of Pauly Shore.
I totally agree with you. This makes sense, because our low point should be the worst thing that happens in something that we still consider to be a Pauly Shore movie. So yeah, I'm perfectly okay with writing this off as not a Pauly Shore movie. That's the problem. The reason it's not a good Pauly Shore movie is because it's not a Pauly Shore movie. Do we want to put the Weasel as an essential? Like that he needs to be the Weasel?
Well, let's dig into that a little bit right now. Let's get into Nugwatch. Let's talk about Nugwatch. Let's get to Nugwatch. Has Pauly Shore said anything about Nugs during this movie?
No. I don't think the word Nugs is said even once. Because he's not the Weasel.
No.
He's not that character. No. He's not that persona.
Because he doesn't say Nugs. He doesn't say Buddy. He doesn't wheeze the juice. He doesn't do anything. Like, he says crust maybe crispy a couple times, but like there's no Pauly Shore isms.
No.
You know?
None at all.
There's nothing. He doesn't talk like Pauly Shore. He doesn't act like Pauly Shore. This is not Pauly Shore. I hate saying that because it definitely is Pauly Shore.
Yeah.
Right? And he like sold out so early in his career. There's like the third major role he's had in a movie in his career, and he just sells out immediately. But like there's nothing about this character that is the Pauly Shore that we know and love from other movies. And is that character the Weasel? Maybe. But, you know, is just like the sense of talking essential. And I mean, I feel like we shouldn't have to say it, but yeah, it is.
Yeah, I agree.
So I guess we add, what do we add?
I think
Weasel speak?
Yeah, Weaselisms.
Weaselisms. That's good. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna keep our high and low points as they were. That makes sense, because this is not a Pauly Shore movie, so it shouldn't impact either of those.
Agreed. Yeah, big oof. Before we do anything else, let's just do a quick bubble bath, clean ourselves off from this friggin' nightmare of a movie. So let's talk about the stuff that baffled us in this movie. Just get it off our chest and out of our brains forever. Do you want to start?
Sure. This is a minor one, but up until the moment when they get their hair cut for to be army dudes, Andy Dick looks like he's wearing a Chris Elliott costume. He's got like the hair and the glasses.
He doesn't even look like a person. Like I feel like I'm bullying Andy Dick at this point, but just like the way that his character looks at the beginning of this movie is like an alien put on a skin suit of Chris Elliott.
Yeah, they're trying to make him look like a grungy slacker, which is not a natural look for him at all. It is like a dog in a sweater. He is not supposed to be in that.
No, his hair's too big and voluminous for his face.
Yeah, it's weird. It's a weird look. And the whole time I was like, this is strange. But speaking of the hair thing, I wonder if perhaps you were overthinking it. And we're getting into all this stuff about the persona and the weasel. Maybe the simplest, clearest answer is just that, like the biblical Samson, Pauly Shore's power lies in his hair.
So you're refusing to jump in the bubble bath with me and getting back into essentials? How dare you?
I mean, I'm sorry, but it's just a thought that occurred to me. Also, what if we made a Samson movie starring Pauly Shore?
Okay, well, first let's dig into this. So, first and foremost, is it his hair? Is his hair essential? His hair in this movie sucked.
Yes.
And was a low point. And I am tempted to agree with you that he should have dope hair. So, I'm willing to put that on the essentials list. Secondly, the Samson stuff. I mean, if that was true, then Pauly Shore losing his hair in this movie would be like a key thing to take note of, where it's like he loses all his weasel powers because he loses his hair. Now,
counterpoint to the point I myself brought up, he's already bad before they cut his hair, so it's definitely not the hair that's doing it. And also, I don't want to say that he needs to have I'm a bald man. And I don't think that I don't want to hair shame anyone. I feel like Pauly Shore can be perfectly likable with shorter hair. It's the style more than anything, and the hair contributes to the style, but it is not the sole component of it. So, I'm wrong.
Yeah, I think you just argued it off the essentials list. Cool. I'm glad that you took a moment to not be in the bubble bath with me, to just argue against yourself and declare yourself wrong. But before you jump in, I guess I should say that a Pauly Shore Samson movie might be fun. I don't know what we'd call that.
Yeah, I don't know either. We'll figure it out. But I mean, almost like a sword and sandals epic, but with Pauly Shore. That could be something. Probably not. It sounds like it would probably be bad. But that could be something.
All right. Now, before you get into the bath, I also just want to note that Nate is not bald, by any natural means. He was bald because a meteorite struck his backyard, and he went to go check it out, and all his hair fell out when he found it. There's no natural thing to being bald. You have to have a reason behind being bald. So that's Nate's reason.
Male pattern baldness is a myth. They're just hiding the fact that they were goofing around with meteorites. Or that they got sent to prison after trying to kill Superman, and they shaved their head and it stayed bald somehow.
Yep. Or they spent 3 movies having impeccable hair and then getting attacked by Apocalypse and having the life drain out of them so all their hair disappeared.
I forgot about that one. That is another common cause of baldness is Apocalypse attacks. You tussle with one ancient Egyptian mutant and boop, you're bald forever. You turn into Patrick Stewart.
That trope is so fucking awful. Alright, get in the bath.
I'm in the bath. I'm splashing around.
Let's talk about Gabriella, the character that doesn't exist, that is Pauly Shore's girlfriend that he tries to sleep with twice and it doesn't go well, and then dumps him via mail to go hang out with her new boyfriend Guido, just as an excuse so Pauly Shore can hook up with Christine guilt-free.
Yeah. It's in one of those, inexplicable movie relationships where, there's no reason these two characters would be involved with each other. It makes all the sense in the world that she would break up with him. It's very weird that she doesn't break up with him immediately. The way they are fired is he's going to be fired, so he gets her to pretend to buy an expensive television from him. Then they go stand behind a wall of TVs in the electronics store, and Andy Dick rolls up and starts trying to film her boobs, and it gets projected on the TVs, and they panic and start fighting each other and knock the TVs over. She should have broken up with him immediately after that. The fact that she stays together with him long enough for him to leave her to go join the army is baffling.
Yeah, but also, it's not Pauly Shore's fault that she leaves him. She leaves him because she is also terrible and cheated on her boyfriend while she's in the army. Great!
Yeah, no. It's yeah. This character's barely in the movie, but manages to be awful, too. Just because so everyone in the movie can be awful.
Yeah, no, it's really, really bad and baffling. Just, why even put the effort in? Why even give him a girlfriend?
Well, they give him a girlfriend so he can say an amazing line. That is my entry for being in the bubble bath. Which is when he's trying to hook up with her behind the wall of TVs, he calls himself her little Italian sausage man. I don't know what that means. That's a weird thing for someone to say.
Yep. Is he trying to say that he's Italian? I don't know.
There's no mention of sausage before that. I guess she's supposed to be Italian. I don't know. It's a really weird line. That is, like, maybe the most memorable thing for me. Almost the most memorable thing for me in this movie. I assume we're going to get to what is actually the most memorable thing to me in this movie, which is truly baffling.
Yeah, we will. We will. Let's talk about how this movie has another similarity to Ernest, where there's a John Wayne impression over the exceptionally weird opening to this movie.
Yeah, it's got the fucking opening narration. There's a John Wayne impression. There's the golfing. There's so many weird... I feel like this has to be the result of one guy, right? There's got to be one guy who's, like, in the Army outreach recruitment wing who's, like, just thinks this is a great idea and keeps doing it. And, like... Right? That's the only explanation I can think of.
Yeah. It has to be that. I can't think of anything else that makes sense. Let's also talk about... Let's get back to, like, when you were mentioning the golf thing, where they're, like, bullying some Army people on the golf court, the mini golf court. And the way they bully the Army people is by feeling up one of, like, the dude's hair?
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
I don't know. He just starts touching him on the head. That whole interaction is very weird.
It feels alien.
He's just immediately hostile to the Army guy, which, like, so there's no reason for this character to be like that. Especially because he almost immediately goes and joins the Army afterward.
Yeah, it's wild. Okay, let's talk about the character of, I believe his name in this movie is Fred, David Alan Grier's character, where,
I think his name's Theo.
Theo?
I think so.
Okay, I believe you. No, it's Fred, you're wrong.
It's Fred? Who's Theo?
Fred Ostroff.
Is that not a character in
I
this
don't
movie?
think Theo's even a character.
Okay, I have no idea what I'm
has
thinking
done
of then.
permanent psychic damage to both of us.
I've invented an entirely new character named Theo, who's not in this movie at all.
It does delve a little bit, I guess, because it's similar letters into what I was trying to say, is let's talk about Fred's therapist.
It's the worst. He's the worst therapist in the world. We're gonna have to do another PSA.
Yeah.
Because when he is asked why he joined the Army Reserves, he said it's because his therapist told him to. And I just want to say right now, if your therapist listens to your problems and then tells you to join the Army, you have a very bad therapist and need to get a new one. And don't listen to that person.
Yeah. Hey kids, have a long day, have a lot of problems and issues. You go to your therapist and you deal with your issues, and your therapist tells you to join the Army, and you join the Army. No, don't join the Army. Fire your therapist. This has been a PSA by Nate and Josh of the Pitch Perfect podcast.
Yeah. He's such his character he's a dentist, and he's worried that because people don't like dentists, so he joins the Army. It doesn't make any sense.
It'll make him look better. This movie is full of propaganda.
I know. It's so bad.
Oh my god.
And it's also just a bummer because I like David Alan Grier a lot. He's very funny. He's not funny in this, and it's a bad movie, and I'm bummed out to see him in it.
Yeah, we'll deal with that in a second. Let's deal with the fact that the movie rewards Pauly Shore's character of Bones for murdering a snake, which, by the way, again, my animal nerdism is going to show, and I immediately notice that this cobra that they deal with doesn't even belong in Africa. It's a spectacled cobra, which is like primarily known as the Indian cobra that they deal with. And the movie rewards him for killing it by giving him food, water that he gets from the ground because he shot the ground, and sex with Christine. That is completely unearned.
In the process, just to be clear, we just glossed over this. Just to be clear, in this movie, he shoots a cobra with an assault rifle.
Yep.
Like from 2 feet away.
Yep.
And in the process of killing the cobra with the assault rifle, in a way that somehow leaves enough edible meat for 4 people, he also shoots water out of the ground.
Yep. And then Christine's all over him.
It's bonkers.
It's wild.
Yeah, they eat the snake. I just want to, like, cobras are cool.
The cobras rule.
Like, they're like a majestic creature that's, like, rich with, like, symbolism and, like, importance. And I don't like seeing assholes shoot them and eat them.
Yeah.
It's not cool.
I also wonder if it's, like, Did they mean to put a Cobra in to just do a G.I. Joe thing?
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Possibly. I don't think they cared enough. I think they just were like, what's a scary animal?
Yeah, that's definitely not anything. But my brain went to that, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe that is a thing. I don't know. But the idea that they didn't even get the right kind of Cobra to put in this movie, because there is an African Cobra they could have used, is yeah, okay, they don't know what they're doing. They're just idiots.
He also stomps on a scorpion.
Yeah, he does do that. That made me sad.
That's another moment where the comedic timing is totally off. Because it's the whole thing is Fred thinks he has a scorpion on his back because he's neurotic, which is the whole bit with his character. And then it turns out he really does have a scorpion on his back, and they mangle the timing of that already not that funny joke so poorly that it feels like you are trapped in a crystalline time prison. It feels like it takes 3 hours to get to Pauly Shore stomping on a fake scorpion in the sand.
Yeah, it's wild. It is absolutely wild.
Okay, so I have one small one here. In a very bad scene that involves the drill sergeant where Pauly Shore purposefully rumples his uniform to get the female drill sergeant to touch him. Awful. There's another, important army authority figure, officer character who's just, in that scene, who's helping her demonstrate how to set up your uniform. He has a Hitler mustache.
Oh, yeah!
He just has a Hitler mustache. It's not commented on. He's just it's like the Michael. It's exactly like the Michael Jordan thing too, because he's a bald black guy and he just has a Hitler mustache. And why? Why didn't they make him shave off his Hitler mustache before he appeared in the movie?
Yeah, for sure. Also, I want to note that you're really making a good point about comedic time in this movie. We're just pointing that in because this whole point of the scene is Pauly Shore is being a creepo and he's untucking his shirt so his hot drill sergeant will come over and tuck it in for him and put her hands near his nug zone. But there was another male officer there, right? So they could have easily just been oh, okay, he'll do it. And then Pauly Shore doesn't get what he wants.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, this movie's back.
Yeah, okay. So let's get into the most grievous, the most horrific, the most bad thing this movie did to us that when we saw it, we both cried in psychological terror and will never recover from. Let's talk about the fact that there's a cameo in this movie by our old pal, Brendan Fraser, reprising his character as Linkovich Shomovsky.
It's okay. So,
oh boy.
Oh my god. It's when they're in Chad, when they're farting around in the desert before they go on the mission. Briefly, we see another soldier in full uniform who is Brendan Fraser, and his little name tag thing that soldiers have on their uniforms says Link. So it is clearly supposed to be Link. But now he's a soldier in the army, which is a huge bummer.
Yeah, if this is our boy, if this is the Encino man, and he's in the army now, that makes me real sad. He comes in a scene, and he it's while they're eating food, and he's try this, it tastes just like frog, and then disappears. And it's why? Why would you remind me that this movie is the worst of the worst?
Yeah, I don't know what to make of it. Because it's we saw before, the Link cameo in Son-in-Law led us to, come up with the idea that
there's a timeline?
The weasel is this infection. Yeah, but it's this is character is clearly played by Pauly Shore, but is not the weasel. But Link is there, so what's going on? What's happening? It's almost like they didn't put any thought into this. It's almost like this weird idea didn't occur to anyone that was making the movie, and it's just something that we came up with years later on our weird podcast.
I think this is a perfect segue, so when we get out of the ball bath, here, take this towel, and let's talk about the timeline for a second. As always, I will lead this charge into the timeline. Now, this movie comes after Son-in-Law, and maybe happens chronologically after Son-in-Law, but I pose to you this. There is no timeline.
Aw, man.
We're 3 movies in, and I've given up on this idea. Here's what I do propose to you, that there are different dimensions.
Oh, okay.
And our boy, Linkovich Shomovsky, is traveling through dimensions and finding all the Pauly Shores. And what he's going to do with these Pauly Shores, I don't know. Is he going to make them do a really great Spider-Verse team-up? Is he going to create the Pauly Shore Wheeze Avengers? I don't know. But our boy, Linkovich-Shimoski, he's Nick Furying right now.
I mean, I guess that's a good explanation. But he doesn't interact with them, really. Maybe he just sees that, like, oh, like, maybe Bones is, like, a carrier, but that's it. And that's why he looks like Pauly Shore, but doesn't act like Pauly Shore. He doesn't really have the weasel.
The weasel gene?
Yeah. And maybe, I don't know. This is breaking us. We bit off more than we could chew. I think maybe there is other dimensions. Maybe nothing matters. Maybe we're all in the army now.
Oh.
Yeah, you're right. This is just, I don't know what to make of this. So I'm going to put the timeline on hold for now. I don't even know if we're going to see Brendan Fraser in other Pauly Shore movies. But, I mean, it at least gives me hope that there's an idea that there's something cooler happening behind the scenes, where our boy Linkovich-Shimoski is not just in the army now, he's doing secret operations as a Nick Fury character. But that's just futile hopes and dreams that are all gone, like tears in the rain. Okay, well, we got a few things left, and then we go home and cry ourselves to sleep after watching this movie. I'll do a quick quote corner, and then I have something else. Do you have anything else, Nate, that you want to talk about that you feel like we haven't talked about yet? With one specific exception that I'll talk about later.
I did write so big in my notes that it takes up 2 lines of my notebook in all caps block letters, just the word gross.
Okay.
But that's it.
Okay.
That's really the only note I have here that we haven't talked about.
Alright, let's get quote corner over very quickly.
I'm shocked that you have something for... You voluntarily put some of this movie into your brain.
I wouldn't say voluntarily, but sure. I just want to I have one. It's one. It's one quote. It's a long quote, okay, but it's one. And it just establishes how bad this movie is.
Hit me with it.
This is after Andy Dick sees a mirage ocean and knowingly takes all his clothes off to go fuck said ocean.
He just starts humping the ground that he thinks is the ocean.
While naked. And then Pauly Shore comes over, Bones comes over, and says to him, look, the way I see it, we got 2 options. 1, go back to Glendale, start up our own store, become rich and famous. Or 2, you can lie here butt naked and crust away, leaving your skull to be found by a young Arabic prince that's going to use it for an ashtray. You don't want that in your head, man.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They do open the store at the end of the movie. It's like weird that it takes kind of this long to really firmly establish their motivations, or I guess they establish them in the beginning, but then this is the only time they're referenced again before the very end of the movie. Also, I think maybe we should have been in the bubble bit, but I do want to ask it here. Why is he called Bones?
It's never established. Like, at the very least, we know why Stoney's called Stoney, because of our chunky bong rip hypothesis. We know why Crawl's called Crawl, because he's a very sad origin story, because that's how he'd always get home. But we have no insight or idea into why he's called Bones.
Do you remember in, you know how in Star Trek, Dr. McCoy is called Bones because of if they would call doctors in like the Civil War, like Old Saw Bones?
Yeah.
Then you remember how in the J.J. Abrams Star Trek, do you remember why he's called Bones in that?
Yeah, the character of McCoy does some sort of weird quip where he's like, feel like after going on this spaceship ride, all that's going to be left of me is my bones.
No?
Nope. That's the way I chose to remember it.
He's divorced, and he said, all she left me is my bones.
Oh.
Totally unnecessary rewriting of that character in a way that makes no sense. No one would ever say that.
That's worse than what I thought I remembered. Cool. Great. Hey, my name is McCoy, but you can call me Bones for no reason.
You call me Bones because I'm divorced. The thing is, I like Carl Urban. He's good casting in that movie, but that part sticks with me. Okay, we don't need to talk about this. We don't need to talk about Star Trek right now. I'm going to say, this is some insight into us outside of the podcast, because this is also a constant struggle in us just having conversations, is I keep bringing up Star Trek. when we should be talking about other shit.
I'm willing to talk about Star Trek, though. I love Star Trek. We tried a Voyager podcast one time. It didn't work, but I was down for it. Okay. I think we need to take a break from our regular podcast activities now that we're done with Quote Corner, because I know you don't have any quotes. And I think we're going to do something different. So I brought down the time machine from my closet, and I think you and I are going to make a quick phone call. We're going to make a phone call to 1994, before In the Army Now comes out. And we're going to call our best friend, David Allen Greer. So, hold on 1 second. Hey, Dave. This is two guys from the future doing a podcast. We just watched a movie that you're probably considering right now called In the Army Now, with this really fun guy called Pauly Shore and Andy Dick. And I know you're considering this movie for your career, but like, maybe don't. Hey, say something.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't be in the Army now, Pauly Shore. Do literally anything else, please. I beg of you. Just don't.
Yeah, we beg of you, please don't do this movie. You're better than this. You will have a long and luxurious David Allen career ahead of you. We promise.
Yes,
okay?
David Allen Rear in another direction, away from wherever they're filming In the Army Now.
Alright. I think we're gonna go now, but just heed our advice and hopefully create a better future for yourself. Love you. Bye.
Bye. Do you know what his next role that he's going to be in is? Like his upcoming movie?
Blank Man?
No. I mean now, in current day.
Oh, no. I thought you were talking about he's gonna be in Clifford, isn't he?
Do you know what his role in Clifford is?
He's Clifford!
He's Clifford! It's so wild.
Maybe we should have called, like, present day David Allen Greer instead. Oh, no.
No, that's like the thing that makes me excited for that movie. Because, like, I don't remember Clifford talking, but also, like, what energy is he gonna bring to this role?
Yeah, I have nothing. I have no idea.
He does not have... I like him, like I've established. We both we're fans.
Big fans.
He does not have talking dog energy.
I mean...
There are a lot of actors with talking dog energy. He is not one of them.
He's a great, like, he's a great voice. So, I don't know.
Yes.
I just, like, feel like he's definitely miscast as the dog. But I guess we'll see. I mean, I don't envision a world where you and I don't watch that movie.
Yeah, that movie from the director of Van Wilder, Wild Hogs, Old Dogs, and Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Road Chip.
Yeah, I literally can't envision a world where you don't force me to watch that movie with you. It's like the whole thing of our friendship.
Yeah, no, that's pretty much how it goes.
Alright. We got one last thing, and then we're probably going to wrap up. I can't really think of anything else. So, let's do a segment that you're all familiar with that definitely has the same initials as a segment I've done before. We're going to do a serious character sit-down.
Okay.
We're going to pull aside Mr. Jack Kaufman, Mr. Andy Dick from this movie, and we're going to give him just, we're going to sit down with him. We're going to have a talk. We got to talk to this guy. You want to get started, Nate?
Yeah, I don't want to talk to this guy. He's awful.
Look,
He's terrible.
All right, I'll start. Fine. Listen, Jack, here's the thing. You have no character arc. You suck throughout this entire movie. You are just a total creepo and a loser, and your attitude towards women is the worst. I mean, the idea of I saw her first, she's mine is not only grade school, it's ridiculously sexist. And the fact that you're mad at another character for just being in relationships with other women is insane. What's wrong with you?
Yeah. And also, your line delivery is strangely bad in this. You're just, like, I get it. Like, I wouldn't want to be in the movie either, but, like, you're here. Just be in the movie.
And the thing is, Jack, we get it. We should just let you die in this movie. You know, there's a point where you're like, there's no sun anymore, everything's bad, just let me die. And it should have happened. And unfortunately it doesn't. So you gotta do better. You gotta have, like, some kind of arc in this movie. You got nothing. And, you know, I appreciate that you tried to fuck an ocean that doesn't exist. But, you know, after that, just put your fucking clothes back on instead of walking away without just having your clothes covering your dick. What's up with that?
Yeah. You're the worst character in this movie, which is almost impressive.
Yeah, it is, because there's no good character in this movie, and you stick out as the worst. And I just need to tell you, Jack, you need to fix yourself and do something with your life. Go see a therapist that won't tell you to go join the army, and get your shit together.
Yeah, hit the road, Jack.
Never come back.
Just don't come back. Just don't come back. No qualifications. Just go away, please.
Okay. He's gone. We did that. I got nothing else.
No, I think we're done here. I desperately don't want to be talking about In the Army Now anymore.
Yeah. What is the next movie that we're doing for our Pauly Shore run-through?
We're going to be covering the movie Jury Duty, which I have never seen. Have you seen this?
No, I have never seen this either, but the cast in it is wild. Abe Vigoda's in it.
Yeah. So, I mean, presumably this is some kind of courtroom comedy. Abe Vigoda is playing a judge. It also has Stanley Tucci, Tia Carrere, and Brian Doyle Murray. Oh, and Charles Napier.
Wild.
So, yeah, what a weird cast.
I can't wait to see Pauly Shore goes to Ernest goes to jail.
Now, I will say this, though. I don't know how this makes you feel, but the director of this movie is also the director of A Night at the Roxbury.
I could take that or leave it. Night at the Roxbury is not a movie that I enjoy, but I know people like that movie.
People do like that movie. All right, then. So, yeah, we never need to talk about In the Army Now. We never need to watch it. We never need to think about it. I'm already erasing it from existence in my mind.
Yeah, this is a movie that you should never see, never watch. Just listen to us talk about how terrible it is and move on with your life, and just never open that Ark of the Covenant, because your face will melt off. So, we're done. Hopefully Jury Duty will blow us away, or at least make us not die inside. And we'll catch you guys later, because, in reality, nothing beside remains. Round the decay of that colossal wreck, boundless and bare, the lone and level sands stretch far away. Buddy?
Bottom line is, man, just love one another, peace and stuff, alright? Word to the wind, Ace. I'm out of here.